All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and get started with our second presentation. And we are going to hear about successful diversion centers, collaborations between law enforcement, prosecutors, LMHAs, defense attorneys, and courts. And we have a good sampling of some very successful programs that are going on. I will tell you that in our county, we have a smaller version, but you know, one of the great things when I hear about somebody who's having a lot of success, I may not be able to do it like they're doing it, but it always gives me an idea. And I know pretty much all of the people making these presentations, and they are good idea folks. And so certainly after their presentation, they will be available individually as they scatter around the room for comment. So since I have three groups, it almost feels like professional wrestling. So in this corner, coming in at a collective 350 pounds, I would like to introduce the good folks from Dallas. I have Lee Pierson, Chief of the Mental Health Diversion of Dallas County DA's Office. Douglas Denton, who is has an L.C.D.C. and what's an M.A.? A master's degree. He is also the director of Homeward Bound. And they are going to be making a presentation on behalf of Dallas, so I will turn it over to them for their presentation. Please join me in welcoming them.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We're going to do kind of what the guys did yesterday. We're going to change in and out. Doug and I will do different slides on our presentation and give you different aspects of our deflection center. I wanted to kind of let you know a little bit before we get started how our deflection center came about. And it came about when D.A. Crusoe took office in 2019. He said, let's go to see what other counties are doing and what we can do to kind of do better, copy, change, kind of tweak our system and kind of look at things. One of the first counties we went to was Harris County. And I have to give a shout out to the Harris County team. Wayne and Denise and everyone in Harris County welcomed us with open arms, gave us multiple tours, shared information with us freely. And one of the things we toured was the Ed Emmett Deflection Center there in Harris County. And during the tour, Judge leaned over and said, we need one of these in Dallas. And that started the long process of getting all the partners involved and getting the Dallas County Deflection Center started. It opened last August, 2022, and it was a little bit slower getting started because right in the middle, as Professor Shannon mentioned earlier, 2020 COVID hit, and that slowed everything down. But we are going. We've got our first year and a couple of months under our belt now, and we've tweaked and changed a lot of things, and we're going to kind of tell you how our center's laid out and some of the things that we've done.
Thank you, Lee. I'm Doug Denton. I'm the Executive Director of Homeward Bound. And how did Homeward Bound get into this? Homeward Bound is a nonprofit based in Dallas. And wait a minute, as of about right now, we're 43 years old this week. And we've been we've been working with the Dallas County court system, the judicial system, since the beginning, since our inception. We've worked with probation. We're basically the first alternative to incarceration for persons that were beginning to get in trouble with their probation with the courts and being identified as having problem behaviors. So we were kind of a natural choice when this came about. This respite center is a collaborative effort among agencies in our community. District Attorney's Office came up with the idea, and we work with the local Behavioral Health Authority, the North Texas Behavioral Health Authority, the Dallas County Hospital District, Parkland Hospital, and their homeless initiative. We're working with over 32 agencies that have arresting power, law enforcement, campus police, hospital districts throughout everything. What Homeward Bound does is we provide a 12-hour drop-off period right now. We're hoping to expand that when we can staff up to a 24-hour period for persons committing criminal trespass. Homeward Bound offer, we've put in a 16-bed facility that can take folks and hold them essentially as long as necessary. It could be as short as 3 or 4 hours when we contact a family member. And we've had folks stay up to 30 plus days, while we're trying to find a proper placement for them. So the funding for this, I guess where it started, Dallas County took a look at our facility. We had an older nursing home that we took over and started to renovate. And Dallas County put money into it. The district attorney's office applied for and received a Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance grant to really help with the infrastructure development. It funded our security system, our security personnel, our clinical director, and other services and evaluation to basically keep up with the data flow that was coming through. The North Texas Behavioral Health Authority committed SB 292 funding for justice-involved individuals to this project. And, I cannot say enough about Dallas County and the work they put in renovating this space to accommodate, and we'll have some photographs a little later of what it looks like. So the intake process, police officer has an encounter on the streets with a person. They've been called, they've been responding to a criminal trespass charge. They basically assess what needs to happen with this person. And if they determine that there's a mental health or substance abuse with mental health issues with this person, there's an impairment, they're free to bring them to us in lieu of arrest. And then what happens is we engage them with our peer support staff, our professional staff. We have 24-hour peer support and a licensed chemical dependency counselor on duty during the day, and a licensed clinical social worker on basically second shift that can help work with that. North Texas Behavioral Health Authority has several qualified mental health professionals that will step up and do a crisis assessment, and then will later step up and do a full mental health assessment of the person. And at the same time, we're looking in our system to see if we've ever had this person before. North Texas Behavioral Health Authority, NITBA, is looking in their system, and Parkland Hospital and their homeless outreach program is looking in their system to see if we can get a history. And we often find what we call frequent flyers, frequent utilizers of services in one or all of our systems. We recently tied into the frequent utilizer services program with the Dallas County Jail, so they can tell how many times this person has been incarcerated over the course of time, and if they qualify for some of the special funding through what we call a F.A.C.H.E program. There you go.
The way we designed the program is it is an alternative to jail. One of the key things that we wanted to do was to have a 15-minute or less drop-off for police officers. When we've been going and talking to officers, and we have the Mental Health Division, the Restorative Justice Division, in the District Attorney's Office, we've gone out and talked to the law enforcement agencies, gotten their feedback, and kind of educated them on it, and let them know what was going on, why we were doing this thing. One of the keys that we wanted to from the get-go was to kind of model the Ed Emmett Center. They have an 11-minute drop-off. We wanted it to be less than 15 minutes. The officer brings someone to the deflection center, enters their name into a kiosk, and then they belong to the Dallas County Deflection Center and they take it from there. As Doug said, it is a community-based diversion program. We'll have a list here in a few minutes of all the partners that have been involved in putting this thing together, putting money, linkages to services to try to help people get out of the cycle, because that's what this was designed for. We know the cycle. I'm charged with a criminal trespass. I go to jail. I'm mentally ill, most times incompetent. If I can't be restored in outpatient competency, I'm waiting on the hospital. I time out. I go back out, I go pick up another case, and I'm just right back in, and that circle keeps on going. That's what the whole point behind a deflection center is. We want to stop that cycle and be able to take someone there. As we mentioned before, it's housed at Homeward Bound, and it did open in August of 2022. Here's some numbers. These are law enforcement numbers as of the time we did this presentation, which was about a month ago. So far, there's been over 230 individuals brought to the center. Dallas Police has done about 70% of those drop-offs. Dallas Area Rapid Transit, or DART, has done about 15%. We have other jurisdictions that have brought. The city of Irving has brought some, city of Garland. There's been marshals departments, and about 8% of those folks identify as veterans. And Doug has some additional numbers.
So we're looking at the state of homelessness in Dallas County. 73% of our intakes are black. Let's break down the numbers. 165 folks were black, 45 were Hispanic, 16 are white, and 4 are unknown or unidentified at this point in time. This reflects the homeless population in Dallas County almost to a T. We have 74% are male and 26% are female. Women that are coming through and being picked up and brought in, you know, we kind of look at the Blue Knight syndrome. Often they're almost being rescued from places like the Dallas Area Rapid Transit. They're basically afraid to leave that place that they have found and are feeling safe. So it could be a rapid rail transit center, and they don't want to go out there, and they keep coming back to feel safe. And the police are, would you like to go someplace, you know, I have some choices here, and would you like to go someplace that's safe, warm, you can get a meal, a shower, a bed, and people will help you get to the next best place for you? And they say yes, you know. So we're feeling very good about this aspect of our transition. Community partners.
And just a little bit to follow up on the numbers, we see just the hard numbers there, which what we didn't bring and what we don't see is the number of people that now have been reunited with their families, the people that have gotten housing, the people that are out of the system. So every person that comes in that's reunited, anything that happens long-term like that, anyone that stays with Doug's group there at Homeward Bound to get treatment is someone that's not caught up in the system. And because of the deflection center, you can see here, I'm not going to read through this slide, but there were a lot of community partners. You can see on there that the Commissioners Court gave money, individual commissioners gave money, DA Crusoe gave money, the business community gave money, Homeward Bound gave their time and a wing of their facility. Mark Cuban gave money for security. Everybody kind of came together, and it took a long time. We had multiple meetings to discuss the policies and procedures. What would a drop-off look like? What does the local mental health authority, the North Texas Behavioral Authority, what is their role? What is Parkland's role? That's our county hospital. All of these people had to come together in dozens of different meetings and dozens of different capacities to decide how this was going to work. So this is a quick slide, but it doesn't show the countless hours and the countless time investments and the energy that went into putting this thing together. It shows a quick snapshot of money and kind of the research and things of that nature. The role of the police in the deflection center, when we've gone to talk to law enforcement officers, it's a very quick role. They determine eligibility, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Who is eligible to go to the deflection center? They transport that person to the deflection center and then enroll them in the facility, and at that point, they're free to get back into service. When we've met with the officers, they love this idea because to go to Lucero at our county jail is a 3 to 4 hour turnaround to take someone in for criminal trespass. This is 15 minutes, even if you have to drive from some of the further cities. Who can go? Right now, pursuant to our grant, the way it was set up, it's only criminal trespass cases, but we're hoping to expand that in the future. We've just passed the year mark, so things are being looked at to maybe try to expand and take other charges. But for right now, pursuant to our grant and funding, Class B is all we can do. You have to be at least 18 years of age. You can't have any outstanding warrants. And this next one is the Class C warrants. When we first started, we had a rule that if you had a Class C warrant, you couldn't come to the deflection center. Many of the officers that we spoke to said, well, you're limiting 70% of the people that we pick up on trespass cases. That's killing the program. So we took that feedback, took it back to the executive committee and the monthly deflection center meeting that we have with all the partners involved, and brought this out as a concern. It is now up to each department's policy whether or not they will take someone with the Class C misdemeanor warrant. The deflection center does not exclude folks for that. So our Dallas Area Rapid Transit, DART, has decided we're not going to confirm Class C warrants. We're going to go ahead and take them. Others, it's a department by department basis. You cannot be a registered sex offender to come to the deflection center, and you can't meet the criteria for an APAL. If you meet criteria for APAL, then you go through the normal procedures that you would. And again, that the officers make that determination. They transport them to a facility if they need to do the APAL. We've got some pictures here. I'm going to let Doug talk about this, because as you can imagine, the construction to get a wing that was basically in terrible shape up to what it is now during COVID was monumental at the least. So I'm going to let him talk about that.
Imagine, if you will, facility built in 1969 and had been neglected significantly for about the last 15 or 20 years. I've heard stories. I looked at this place about 15 years ago as a possible relocation for our treatment facility and declared it need of too much work. 7 years later, we were desperate to get a new facility, and this was the only zonable. I envy Houston and your zoning, or is it lack of zoning that y'all have over there? But zoning, there's consistent editorials about how the city of Dallas and its zoning and inspection problems hinder development. Anyway, this was it, and we went ahead and got in it and started fixing it up. Two-story facility. There was almost no roof on the thing. The second floor was essentially functioning as the water barrier to the first floor. And we went into it with the help of Dallas County, rehabilitated it. When Judge Creuzot, DA Creuzot came and said, look, we want to do this, are you game? And I said, we've been doing this informally for the last 40 years. Police find out about us, they bring us clients, they see if we can help them, and we almost always say, yes, we can, or make a determination of what's the next best place. So Dallas County came in. They basically gutted a 7,500 square foot wing of this nursing home. 4 wings, 2 floors, and they basically gutted this. The picture on they said don't use the pointer, so the picture on my upper right is the intake door. Police officer can pull into a reserved parking place, step out into the sally port, bring a person in. Security will step out and meet the client and take their belongings and start to do a search and wand the client. Police officer can step in, fill out a quick questionnaire, basic demographics of who they're bringing in, where they found them, what division they're from. And that allows us to chart among the 30 plus agencies who is bringing folks, who needs an orientation. And we find that information gets lost sometimes, so we need to go back. Lower right hand is the other side of the reception area. People can sit and kind of rest a minute. We were talking about an APAL, and occasionally somebody will decompensate, will start to lose it on the way in, and we make a quick assessment, as to whether or not that person should stay or be returned should go on to the jail, should I say. And occasionally somebody is, when they come out of the car, so violent we ask the officer to continue on their journey to the jail And I was just looking at our numbers of the number of people that have been checked in. It's fewer than 10% have had to be retained by law enforcement. During the heat wave, and I don't know if anybody else experienced Dallas, we were hitting temperatures of 109, 110, 114 degrees. And people were coming in and they seemed really out of it. And, you know, it's just like, maybe this person should go to the hospital. And we were able to let them sit and basically cool down, drink some water, drink some Gatorade, have some snacks and things. And pretty soon they kind of came out of it and they started to become verbal and start to talk to us about what was going on with them. So we try not to make quick judgments about a person's capability. You see the bedroom, three beds to a room, and Parkland Hospital is on site. They do a health assessment. North Texas Behavioral Health has 2 QMHPs on duty during the 12-hour shift, and they basically do an in-depth review of what the person's needs are. There we go. We're located in the center, and we hope we're very central. We're almost exactly between Interstate 35 and 45 in the southern sector of Dallas. We're due north of Interstate 20. So any jurisdiction can typically get to us, you know, in a reasonable amount of time. They can come down either interstate, they can come over or any of the interstates and come across. We're on an inner loop called Loop 12 around that circles this kind of the center of Dallas. And so you come off one of those, you get on Loop 12 and you come over and boom, you're at our facility. So right now, 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As soon as we can get staffed up. We had a guy and we lost him just day before yesterday that was going to help anchor the midnight shift. And I don't know if anybody else is experiencing staffing problems, but I think it's a common lament among agencies today. So I appreciate your time. Any questions?
Just wanted to say too, we're going to try to give some time to Houston because they have 3 presenters. But if you have questions, please catch us. Email us. You'll get these slides. Our information is on there. I mentioned it before. I mean, Wayne and Denise have been invaluable. They've talked to us dozens of times. We're happy to do that as well, because this whole process is kind of, you do one thing, it doesn't work, you switch and do something else. You have to pivot, you do something else. So it's kind of an in-motion, you know, changing thing as you go along. So thank you very much.
And for our second team of presenters, it is my pleasure to introduce, I think all 3 of you, are you on the JCMH commissions? And you're still there, so everybody's a commissioner up here. Denise Oncken, to your right of me, my left, attorney, and also has a Master's of Business Administration. She serves as an executive bureau chief for the Harris County District Attorney's Office with oversight of the program that they're about to present and discuss. I also present to my far right, Wayne Young, who has his Master's of Business Administration, licensed professional counselor, and what's a F.A.C.H.E?
No, it's a healthcare thing.
Okay, and a healthcare thing, according to Wayne. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Harris County Center for Mental Health and Intellectual Disabilities. And we also have, who's been a real advocate of mental health initiatives on behalf of law enforcement, Major Mike Lee, who is the Chief Deputy of the Harris County Sheriff's Department. So please help me welcome our team from Harris County, who is going to tell us about their great, wonderful operation that we certainly all hope to aspire to have someday. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. As Judge Carr said, I am Denise Oncken. I'm with the Harris County District Attorney's Office out of Houston, Texas. I almost feel like since Dallas went first and we're second, it's Rangers versus Astros. Rangers is ahead right now, but we'll see how it all turns out. Anyway, I'm glad to be here with you, with my esteemed colleagues, to talk to you about our diversion center that we've had in Harris County for 5 years now. And as you can see on the slide, we're talking about 5 years of transforming lives. And as of the end of August, beginning of September, we did hit 5 years with our diversion center. Wayne's going to talk to you a little bit more about the numbers, but I will tell you updated figures as of the end of September, beginning of October, over 9,000 individuals have been diverted from the jail and the criminal justice system and taken over to our Judge Ed Emmett Mental Health Diversion Center. So we're pretty proud of that. I will tell you, you're going to also hear that we keep tweaking our diversion center each year, and Wayne's going to talk to you a little bit about that timeline. But as you can see here, when we started, it was really a time for a new approach in Houston and Harris County. We saw a revolving door of jail suspects who would come into the jail. They'd be there for a little bit of time, maybe some mental health treatment in jail. They seemed okay. We'd give them a small pop on a little jail time, back out again. We had individuals who had as much as 85 times in and out, low-level, nonviolent misdemeanor offenses like criminal trespass, criminal mischief, things like that. They were homeless, and so we knew there was time for a new approach. So what we did is we decided that we were going to get together and create a mental health diversion center. And I will tell you that we wanted somewhere where they would receive treatment. And that was the most important thing. We realized at that point in time 5 years ago that the criminal justice system was not solving the public health crisis that we had with mental health in our jurisdiction. So what we did is we moved on and we got some key stakeholders together. And I will tell you that it is very, very important to have all these players together. And if you remember anything out of what we say, I'd say the important thing is collaboration. You can see that District Attorney's Office, along with our Sheriff's Department, along with our local mental health authority, we look like we're pretty good friends up here. We actually are. We're a large jurisdiction, and for all these different organizations and entities to work together, very, very important. And whatever size your jurisdiction is, I think it is very, very important to work together. So we had our county judge who actually pulled us in. It was Judge Ed Emmett at the time, hence the name, the Judge Emmett Mental Health Diversion Center, that pulled us together. The Sheriff's Department, along with our lead law enforcement agency, the largest one is H.P.D., second is the Sheriff's Department in our jurisdiction, along with our local mental health authority, the Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD that Wayne is the CEO over. And so we all got together and said we need to have a diversion center here. And so it was my boss, the DA, who said, you know what, I'm gonna make sure we've got all law enforcement on board. We're gonna roll it out. We have 87 plus law enforcement jurisdictions in Harris County to make sure everybody's on board, everybody can bring individuals to the Mental Health Diversion Center. So collaboration is key, and you see it takes all of those entities there together. And I will tell you, here's a little bit about the overview of the Judge Ed Emmett Mental Health Diversion Center. Initially, when we started, it's a 36-bed facility. Wayne's going to talk about how that has actually changed since we have enacted. You can see down there, the bottom bullet is we now have a campus-based facility. It's a continuum of care there, and he's going to tell you more about that. But we started out in Midtown Houston with a facility that's close to downtown. When I walked through the doors of the facility with Wayne and Mike for the first time, I said, you know, it's too small. And they said, we agree, but we had to get something up and going, and we just had a few months. So we have expanded. Anyway, an officer can deliver someone directly to the diversion center. And you might be going, hey, Dallas calls it deflection center, you call it diversion center. Remember, we started 5 years ago. And we not only had to sell it to law enforcement, so that was a major curveball for law enforcement 5 years ago, as you can imagine, and we had to sell it to the community. The district attorney knew that diversion, jail diversion, sounded a lot more palatable for the community out there, and I think that it served us well. There's a lot of different diversion programs. Typically, when you think about diversion, you think about charging. We do not charge those individuals who are taken to our mental health diversion center. So eligible individuals typically have some type of history of mental illness. Sometimes the officer may not know, but we try to help them at DA intake, and I'll talk about that in just a second. They have to voluntarily agree to go to the program. Mike Lee, Chief Lee, is going to tell you about how law enforcement deals with those individuals and how they sell it to the individuals. Their two choices are jail or mental health diversion center. And he'll tell you how they work with those individuals. And let me just tell you, I am super impressed with my law enforcement partners, those officers. I've seen them deal with those individuals as they brought them into the diversion center. They are so kind and really work with them so well getting them in. And then when Wayne's team takes over and deals with them, it's a lovely process. So thank you to all of you who have come and visited our diversion center in Harris County, and we welcome any others to come and visit with us as well. So the big question is, when you're out there on the street, do they have a mental illness or not? Many people ask me, in fact, Judge Carr, said, hey, we're having a little bit of a problem getting people in. How do you do that? So in Harris County, we're a little unique because any law enforcement officer who wants a charge of a Class B offense or higher must call what we call our 24/7 district attorney DA intake. And we've got a bevy of lawyers sitting over there, yes, 24/7. They're there, down there at the Criminal Justice Center at DA intake, taking those phone calls from officers as they are out there on the scene. The officer indicates to the DA, I've got probable cause. Let's say it's trespass. Let's say it's criminal mischief. Let's say it's failure to ID, any low-level misdemeanor offense. And they tell him, and the DA will go, yeah, officer, it sounds like you have probable cause. Tell me about the suspect you've got out there, the individual. And they may say, well, they're acting a little unusual. Okay, do they have some type of mental health history? Not sure. Do you have any identifiers on them? Let me look in the system and see what I see at DA intake. And the prosecutor says, looks like they've been in the criminal justice system before. It looks like from our special needs response form, and you see that on the second bullet there, it's a unique form that we have in our jurisdiction that if they've ever been in the criminal justice system before, we have mental health history. And that's a feed on a form that actually comes from the Sheriff's Department into our system where the prosecutor can see it, the defense attorney who ultimately may represent an individual can see it and see that prior mental health history. It's got all kinds of stuff on it. I know the Judicial Commission just recently asked us for a copy of that form so they can see what's on there. But just to tell you, we can see 1622 requests on there. We can see if they've ever been to state mental hospital. We can see if they're on medications or have been on medications. The most important thing, we can see if they've had a prior mental health diagnosis. Sometimes the officer may not know that on the street, and we'll tell them, officer, I see right here, they've been in the criminal justice system before. They're diagnosed as schizophrenic, and it seems like the best result would be for them to go to the diversion center. I will tell you now, we have officers calling up, say, hey, I'm out here. I've got this individual on this criminal trespass, maybe it's a failure to ID, maybe it's criminal mischief, whatever low-level nonviolent misdemeanor offense it is, and they say, you know what, I really think this person needs to go to the diversion center even though we've got probable cause, and we say, you're so right, officer, take them on, you're good to go. And so I see the change in 5 years, what we've had, and it's really, really lovely. I will tell you that we also have a second catchment. And just recently, and it was really Chief Lee's suggestion that we put a prosecutor over there. This picture that you see right here is the mental health diversion desk in our jail. It's our joint processing center where individuals are booked in. You know, they bring them in, put them up against the wall. There's the booking center there. There's also the diversion desk. But Chief Lee suggested that we put someone over at that diversion desk to really help as a second catchment. So we could actually catch them before those charges processed on through the system. Even though we'd accepted charges on the phone with the officer out there on the scene, and we didn't see any mental health history, they didn't see anything, it's a second catchment. So you're like, well, what are you catching there at the second catchment? Well, at that desk, Wayne Young, our local mental health authority CEO, has clinicians sitting there, and they are looking in all kinds of databases. They also run the CCQ query over there to see if they've had some mental health history anywhere with a mental health, local mental health entity across the state of Texas. They look at the suicide screening form, all those kinds of things to see if maybe we've missed diverting someone on a low-level misdemeanor offense. If the clinicians see something there, they will then come over to the prosecutor and say, hey, looks like we have somebody that might have been missed. The booking officer is there. The arresting officer is there. We collaborate with the clinician and the arresting officer and say, you know what? Mental health diversion might be the better thing. We're so sorry, officer, but at this point in time, let's go ahead and take them over to the mental health diversion center. And the officers are like, you know, I thought it would be a real pushback from the officers because they were already down there ready to book them in. But, you know, once we visit with them and once they're familiar with what the diversion center can provide, they realize that is a better option. Because here's the thing, those low-level, nonviolent misdemeanor offenses, they're turning out of jail in just hours because they're typically getting a PR bond and not getting any mental health treatment. So the better place to go is obviously the mental health diversion center. So anyway, we did provide that second catchment there. And I will say that we look at a number of factors and have a nice collaboration with our partners there at that point in time. Because we didn't have the resources, the financial resources to put a DA there all the time, 24/7, what we've set up is a Zoom link with the clinician there at the desk, back with our 24/7 prosecutor over at the courthouse, the Criminal Justice Center. And so they can Zoom, so whether they're there in person or by Zoom, they can have that conversation. And I actually have hopped on that Zoom and visited with officers and clinicians to divert individuals. And officers who've been to the diversion center have taken individuals over there. Think it's a great thing. The ones who have not and said, no, I've never taken anyone over there because we have a lot of officers in Harris County. I tell them, call me back. Tell me what you think of it after you check them in. And I've gotten good reports back. So we're going to go ahead and break halfway through, Judge Carr, if that's all right, for a break now, because we're about at a little past 10:45. And we will come back. I'm going to let my colleagues who do the mother load of the work for mental health diversion in Harris County tell you about that. So let's take a short break, 15-minute break, Judge Carr, and we'll be back so you really hear how it all works. Thanks.